Y'all, we are 4 days away. 3 days if we count the fact that today is just about over. So, I've been doing my best to give you one thing a day that is in some way related to the story behind Grace in a Shattered Place. Sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly. I hope you've been paying attention. If you missed yesterday's thing, you might want to go back and take a listen. It's a little longer than my normal videos, but I take the time to share a bit of my story in an audio clip just like this one. But today's one thing comes in the form of a saying, eyes on Jesus, because there's a chapter in the book about broken focus. I first saw this short phrase on the page of another author that I follow. Another author. Fancy the thought. Anyway, I quickly adopted this phrase for my own little life as pieces of it kept falling down around me. It also became the phrase that I used to encourage someone else that was in similar circumstances. Disaster, debris, despondency. It was overtaking us, and we could only use a simple phrase to remind each other to look up. Eyes on Jesus, sis. Eyes on Jesus. Recently, a life experience reminded me of this same phrase. I happened to be preparing for a competition solo at the end of this month. Don't ask me why. I did not plan nor intend to be launching a book and practicing for a competition solo at the same time. But it's just how the chips fell. Hence, the fact that I have really been missing my sweet dear friends, bed, pillow, and the blanket. Anyway, I've been working with a voice coach. I am a mezzo-soprano, which means that my voice range falls somewhere in between the alto voice and the soprano voice. And while I like to emphasize the mezzo part to my voice instructor, she likes to emphasize the soprano. So, our sessions are like voice tug-of-war. Anyway, she has often mocked me for being, quote, chicken to sing high notes. So in one practice a few weeks back, I decided I was going to take the leap. I watched her hands go up the scale on the keyboard, and I decided to take a deep breath and sing the note. Putting into practice all of the things she had been teaching, I took a deep breath, lifted my saw palette, smiled to make sure there was adequate space on the inside of my mouth, and I did it. I expected her to stop and be in awe or something, because she knows I don't normally sing those high notes, but she kept playing. So I opened my mouth and I prepared myself to sing the next warm-up phrase. But when I saw her hand go up the piano again, instead of taking me back down the scale, something in my brain said, nope. And no sound came out of my mouth. We both stopped and had a very good laugh. Let me tell you something, lady, she said. I'm the teacher here. You are not in control. This time, I want you to look away from the piano and at the picture on the wall. We did the exercise over again. This time, though, I was a bit nervous. I knew that she was about to take me into the stratosphere. And in case you can't tell, I much prefer level playing. So, I sing the scale. She goes up. I sing the scale. She goes up. I turn and look at the piano, and she says, keep your eyes on the picture. So, I move my eyes to the picture and sing. Finally, she stops playing and says, do you know that was the highest that you have ever gone? You know why? She continued as if I didn't already know the answer to her obviously rhetorical question. Because you weren't focusing on my hands or the keys. You were trusting me to take you where I knew you could go. Fancy the thought. Let me give it to you, Bible. Matthew 14. Most of us know the story. Jesus. Jesus is walking on the water and his disciples are terrified. But Jesus calls out to them, don't be afraid. It's me, Peter. Brave Peter says, Jesus, if it's really you, tell me to come out on the water. Jesus calls for Peter to come, and Peter walks on the water. But in verse 30, the Bible tells us that Peter saw the wind, became afraid, and began to sink. He took his eyes off Jesus. Lord, save me, he cried. And Jesus reached out his hand and saved him. O ye of little faith, Jesus said to Peter, Why do you doubt? Now, I'm reading this story like, really, Lord? Peter was the only one brave enough to even get out of the boat and walk on the water in the first place. Why do you rebuke him for being of little faith? The answer? Peter's faith shifted from the sovereignty of Jesus to the reality of the storm. And his ability to make it to the other side where Jesus was standing out on the water was in his ability to keep his eyes off of the storm and straight ahead on Jesus. Just like my ability to trust my vocal coach and grow in my range was in my ability to take my eyes off of the keys and focus on a picture. So, are you in challenging circumstances? Are you being stretched past your capacity? Can I challenge you to take your eyes off of the storm and place them back on Jesus, gazing only straight ahead? Don't beat yourself up about yesterday, because today is all you have. And sometimes we all need a little reminder. Even now, doing those vocal warm-ups, because my habit has been to watch the keys intently as I sing the scale, my vocal coach has often had to remind me to take my eyes off the keys and focus on that one picture. She's not always as gentle as she was on day one of this discovery, however, because now she expects me to have grown past a point where I know better. But she also doesn't hold it against me if she has to remind me to shift my focus. And neither does Jesus hold it against you. Yes, he may rebuke you for having little faith, but he never stops loving, never stops guiding, and never stops giving you his grace. So, eyes on Jesus, friend. Eyes on Jesus. I hope you were encouraged today. Is there something broken in your life? Shift your focus and remember that there is grace in your shattered place.